Hello, my name's Peter Knight. I've been given 3 minutes to tell you about the kinds of undergraduate dissertation that I'm available to supervise this year. If you don't have 3 minutes, then the short answer's on the left-hand side of this slide here. The topics I most often supervise are sciencey projects about glaciers, glacial geomorphology and environmental change, and also projects about the ways in which art and science can overlap, particularly in those areas of environmental change, glaciers and geomorphology. For those of you that know about my research specialisms, it'll come as no surprise that I'm happy particularly to supervise projects in glacier-related topics and glacial geomorphology. These might be based on primary data and field work, where you go out into the field and hit a glacier with a stick and measure stuff, but increasingly students are using secondary data very effectively. The Nature paper here, it's not an undergraduate dissertation, but one of the authors, Darrell Swift, did do his dissertation in geography at Keele many years before writing this paper. In this paper, what Darrell and some others of us have done is taken data that previous publications have collected for their work, and we've repurposed it, we've reused previously published data to answer a different question of our own. And that's exactly the kind of thing that you can do using secondary data or data that you've derived from other publications if you want to do a glaciers dissertation but aren't able or don't want to go out and do your own field work. Another area where I've supervised some great projects is looking at environmental change using very basic remotely sensed data, very easily accessible remotely sensed data from places like Google Earth. You don't necessarily need complicated GIS or high-level remote sensing to get good data to do a really interesting project. The picture on this slide shows something that I just put this together in half an hour or so myself. I just collected some images from different dates off Google Earth showing how a new lake has grown behind a retreating glacier, and that poses a threat to people downstream. So it was a very simple data collection exercise, and it now provides some information that you could use for working out all sorts of things about what's happening in terms of environmental change and about the implications of that for people in that area. So making your own new observations of how the planet's changing by looking at easily accessible remote sensing sources is potentially a really good dissertation and could give you some genuinely original observations for your work. Finally, an area where I've been doing some work recently and have supervised students both at undergraduate and at master's level is looking at how art and science can work together. For example, a number of students have done projects looking at how scientific topics, scientific ideas like climate change can be communicated more effectively using art than by using traditional scientific means of communication. In that kind of project, you might explore how other people have tried to do that, how other people have tried to communicate science by non-scientific means, or you might try to develop a strategy of your own way of communicating science through music or through art or through some other approach. Now, with all these project areas, with the art science area, just as with all the others, there is a substantial existing research literature out there for you to explore as a first stage of developing an idea. And that's the next thing to do now. Whichever of those project ideas you might be interested in, the first thing to do is to do some reading and identify interesting questions that you could realistically address in the scope of an undergraduate dissertation. I think too massively ambitious, but something interesting that you could do as part of a dissertation. The How to Do Your Dissertations book will help you to pick a topic and to select what makes an interesting question if you really don't know where to begin. And then when you've done that, when you've got some ideas, when you've done some reading, then get in touch and we can talk about them, talk about moving the project forward.